Here we go. Ben Rice and myself, Dave Noble. Hi, Ben.
Hi Dave, how you doing?
Okay. I'm all right,
Good.
man. So let's get cracking. This is an introduction. First, should we call it episode one? Is it going to be called episode one? It's an introduction to what we're doing.
Yeah, some sort of promo, episode one. Yeah,
Okay. And it is called, I feel like you should be introducing what it's called because you came up with the name.
so we are going to be calling this the Velvet Revolution, um, which is yeah. I mean, it's using a name of an actual revolution, but the intent behind the revolution in Czechoslovakia was one of gentleness and of peacefulness. So I think that's where me and you are at. It's where we started when we had the conversation on your other podcast.
Hmm.
Um, and I think yeah, it's we talked about the need for some sort of change, and revolution always seems like a big word, but I feel this past week and the craziness that's going on in the world, it feels even more apt that somehow we're trying to do our bit, even if it's just this community of me and you, where we try to do something about it.
Absolutely. And so we're clear, we are not a propaganda broadcast. And the revolution comes with us. I want to be clear on that. This is my understanding of it, right? Is
Yeah,
it's the revolution of the heart.
yeah, yeah. And I think when we talked previously, and I think there was we're both very conscious about male white voices on podcasts, and I think I'm hoping we can do something different, and we can show there are other ways to be than the dominant force of maleness that is out there in the world at this moment in time.
We're bringing the yin to the yang,
Yeah,
right? Is that right? Is that right? Because the yin
yeah.
is the feminine, right? Is that right? I don't know.
I don't know which way around it goes.
Do you want to
Yeah.
quickly look that up? So I've got that right. But we're bringing the yin to the yang or the yang to the yin,
Yeah.
you know. Um, because it's needed.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is that a lot of what's been going on historically is because you got like too much toxic testosterone floating around, and we need that yin, yin. I don't know,
Yin is female or moon.
yin.
Yang is sun or male,
There you
according.
go.
Yeah,
I
there you
got it
go.
right. Okay, so the
Yeah.
yin. Yeah, we need more yin
Yeah.
and ting. Okay, cool. All right, so the velvet. I always want to say the velvet underground or the velvet
Yeah.
something else. So it's the Velvet Revolution. Why did we come? Sorry, why did we? Why did you come up with that name?
Well, I think we both were batting things around, and we talked about the idea of a revolution, and then we, yeah, I think it's that idea of how do you make the revolution feels like such a massive, huge, huge thing to try and comprehend it, and I guess there's also that worry about it being political and
Mm-hmm.
being aggressive, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it was trying to find a way of it being uh yeah, taking that aggression out of it, um or taking the
Absolutely.
violence out of it. And I mean, it's hard at the moment, because I think I was listening to something yesterday about the revolution at this moment in time, that like these governments, they're not worried about our revolutions. We can go and have a march in London and 100,000 people on the streets. They're fine with that because no one does anything. And it was a French lady that was doing this chat. And like, obviously in France, they burn cars. They have a slightly different order, don't they? There is a level of aggression there and a level of fear from the leaders, because people will do
Yeah.
something about it. And I don't know whether it's naive, but I do hope that there is a way where you can, just through community, through coming together, through discussion, that you can find a way forward.
Yeah. It's like brainstorming down the allotment whilst you're
Yeah,
planting
yeah,
carrots.
yeah, yeah.
But like, yeah, I was saying earlier about revolution of the heart
Mm,
because I believe this is just the way I see it is it starts with us. Like, if we could just all go inward, and just like how could I be the best version of myself and be a really good human being? If we all
hmm,
did that, if we all took that accountability and went inward instead of looking outside of ourselves at what's the problem with everything else and everyone else, why don't we just start with ourselves, get our shit in order,
hmm,
revolution of our own heart.
hmm.
I feel like there'd be a massive shift, and it's a shift in, you said it, consciousness, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think we're in a situation at the moment where we are more and more isolated. Current events are putting us in a place where we feel hopeless and we feel
Mm.
like nothing is going to change, and we can do nothing about it. And I think you're absolutely right. The thing we can control and the thing we can change is ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
and if we're not doing that, you know, I, you and I have both had conversations about the switching off of the news and not
Mm-hmm.
getting involved in the politic. Uh, but and my granddad fought in the Second World War, and his thing that I always remember as a kid was, that's what he sort of nailed his colours to the mast. It would be like, I fought in the Second World War so you could vote, and it was like, right, okay. So there was always this pressure. The moment I became a voting adult, that he said it doesn't matter even if you go in there and make a mess of the ballot paper. You've got to go and have your say, otherwise, what's the point? And I feel at the moment that we've all got to that place where it's like there is no point. Nothing's going to change. They're all the same, and I feel we need to take some of that control back, and we need to realize
Mm.
that there is a point, that even if we're not, even if we're switching off the news because we don't want to listen to what's going on, we then need to pick that up somewhere. We need to pick up the what's going on a day by day
Yeah,
basis
yeah,
within
yeah,
our
yeah,
within ourselves, within our communities, within our own spaces. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, what we're going to try and do, we're going to endeavor to compile and present and discuss, outline a human encyclopedia
Mm-hmm.
of emotions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what is that exactly? What does that mean? I've just got some notes here. I'm just going to quickly, and you can
Mm-hmm.
chip in, Ben, right? So it's going to be a playful exploration of emotions and responses, would you say?
Yeah. I don't think you
Mm?
can have one without the other. I think
Yep.
I think we're going to look at it as as our own personal journeys. I think it's
Hmm.
it's our it's our understanding of how those emotions play out within ourselves, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we've got many stories about how they've been positive and negative.
Yeah, I've got a couple. So, and so in relation, basically, right, the reason this is relevant is because of what you was just saying about the current state of affairs, where we're at in the
Mm,
climate, in the global climate, and how that affects us. And we are doing all we can to present maybe some, I wouldn't say, would you say it's a guide? I wouldn't say it's a guide because people don't have to follow it. It's just outlining and shedding maybe some awareness, a light on how I'm going to speak for myself, how I can be affected by certain emotions and responses. So, for example, how to express my emotional world to others without it being weaponized.
yeah.
Question mark. How do I do that? You
Mm,
know, no, I know how I do it, but for anyone listening, you know. Do you know how to do that? So, can I be fearful without getting angry? Question mark.
Yeah.
And to add to that, how the fuck do I do it?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to be exploring all this stuff through this compilation. Because this was your idea. This is all your idea, Ben. You've just
Okay.
wrote me into it. No, I was fully subscribed. I really
Yeah.
wanted to. I think the feedback on the conversations we had, you was on episode 3 of that podcast that I did, that I'm doing, and I had more than, well, I had a handful of people say, "Who's Ben? Like, I want to know this guy, and I want to join his revolution." Because you was talking some good shit. So anyone who wants to know a little bit more about Ben, conversations with a lone wolf, episode 3.
Mm.
So yeah, Ben, your idea, human encyclopedia of emotions.
Yeah, I think, in the work that we both do, we work with very unregulated young people on the whole. And we work in very emotional situations because we know that, I mean, on the whole, we're dealing with teenagers and 20 somethings, aren't we? And they are in that really raw place. We remember it vividly of how you feel at that age, of how everything is so important and so raw and so real, and your first ever love, that's all of it is so intense. And as you said, every emotion becomes a weapon, becomes a way of interacting with the world that is, or can be, I guess, hugely problematic for so many people. And I wonder sometimes whether the journey into adulthood is just becoming passive,
Mm.
is actually just, I'm not going to feel this anymore. I'm not going to feel this intensely, and I'm just gonna, I sometimes, both you and I are huge lovers of music, and we consume and find as many different things as we can listen to. And sometimes you speak to people and they're like, I don't listen to music anymore, or I've stopped. I don't, I know what I like now. I like this one album that I listened to in 1983, and that's it. And I think we should, I've never stopped looking for something new, something that, yeah, constantly trying to find a new pathway. And I think we stop a lot of our experiences as we get older, as we stop and we know what we know, and we like what we like.
So the trajectory, is that right, of our
Yeah.
perception gets narrower do
Yeah.
you think, as we get older or not?
Yeah. I think we that sort of journey to
Right.
conservatism with a small c,
Okay.
isn't it?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're gonna bust that fucker right open
Yeah.
on this. This is what we're gonna do, right? So we've got a list that you compiled a list. You got some sort of list. So because do you want to sort of just get into a little bit for background for anyone listening? Because you did it on the other
Mm.
episode that we did on the other thing, but that was more to do with your professional background. Are you all
Yeah.
right to get into just for people so they know, what's your qualification of being able to witter on for an episode like me, chatting away about, and I'll remind people, I can do it as
Yeah.
well if you want to go first. What's your qualification to be able to explore this emotional landscape that we're going to endeavor to do?
I think from a professional perspective, I've been an educator now for almost 25 years, and I've worked with secondary school age kids, so 11 to 18. And it's, I guess, in a way, it's kind of mirrored my personal journey in that I started off very, very straight, and very like, I'm a teacher and I'm going to get you a grade, and that was my journey, and it was that was my mission, I guess, at that point. And then the journey was that as I progressed, it became more about the kids. It became more about the
Mm.
what was going on for them, and it was something I was shut off to. I think very, in my early life, I was, as I became more aware of myself, I became more aware of them
Mm.
and the interactions I was having. And I think I know. Sorry, I don't. It's not even a think. I know that I was quite a shouty teacher. I was quite quite strong, and people found me quite scary, and now, I mean, I still have that. I'm sure I still have that part of me, but now I'm much more understanding both of how I feel, and as a result of that, how they feel. And I think that was always there. It's just I was never aware of it. And
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about this, and I think this is where we've come up with this concept, is that uh, you know, I got through life by, everyone said, "How are you?" I'm okay. I'm good. That was my stock answer, and I think it is most people's stock answer.
Mm.
And I've found in the past 10 years, I would say, that actually I'm feeling more than I ever have done before, and it's about how you feeling. Actually, I'm feeling really shit at this moment in time. I'm feeling really angry. I'm feeling really sad. I'm feeling really, yeah, really frustrated, and I think it's about that journey, and that's very much where I've gone to now, where I now work with young people in a behavioural setting where they've been kicked out of mainstream school, and they are the most empathetic and dysregulated young people that you could work with.
Yeah, that's your qualification, man.
Yeah.
And to get on their level, the only way you're ever gonna really comprehend and understand what's going on for these poor little fuckers. I shouldn't use the word poor because that sounds like, pitying them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Um, is to tap into your own, you know, your own emotional world, which
Yeah.
as a teacher, you're not meant to do. So it's great that you do it. All right, cool, cool. So that's a little bit more about you. And I know I'm vouching for you. You know, we have very, very good chats. Outreach calls, if you want to call them that,
Yeah.
just to help process, what's going on today. Oh, I don't feel great. That's okay.
Mm.
Anyway, for me, um, yeah, man, I've been through a lot of stuff, man. I've been through a lot of stuff, and I've overcome it. I've faced it. Um, I've gone inward. I've been on a journey of self-exploration, self-development, um, and on it goes on a daily, you know, reprieve, day to day. Don't always get it right. Um, I know a bit, still learning.
Yeah.
And the work I do with, like you, I work with people who are maybe didn't get the coordinates like I didn't, and I found my true north, and I help people find their true north. So
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're doing. This is an extension of that. We've got this
Yeah.
list of stuff that maybe is the true north. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think, we connected. We met in a school setting, but um, you've always had an honesty, and I think that's very much when I met you on your journey, was there was an honesty to your story, and you've never shied away from any part of your story.
Yeah.
And I've seen how young people respond to your honesty, and it's a really unique position where you can come into a school and you can be exactly who you are
Mm,
without any sort of without any sort of pretense. And
yeah.
I think that's so often what we're doing is,
yeah,
in an educational setting, and probably in most of our lives, is we've got that mask on, we're pretending. And I think that's what I've always really valued about your work is you can just be you.
yeah. Thank you. It's good just to be me,
Yeah.
authentic. Um, and really know that, it's a really beautiful thing, and it's a
Mm,
journey that it's taken me, so much graft to get to a point where I could actually be in a position to actually explore that.
yeah.
And so anyway, let's get into the list we've got, right? So we've got like an A to Z, haven't we?
Yeah.
Of emotions. They're not just emotions. I think some of the things in there, and there's a lot of blanks in there. It's just a list that we started putting together and we started throwing down from A to Z. And I guess we could open it up to people I guess if anyone had something that they thought, oh yeah, I've got one, bang, sling it in
Mm.
there because we won't cover it all. And it's a huge undertaking because A to Z in theory, what's that, 26?
26 letters in the
Right?
alphabet.
And there's more than one of each.
Yeah.
There's a lot of D's. I know that anyway.
Yeah.
Went through the D's, but there's a lot. There's a lot to cover. If we go through every single one and break them down of how we relate to them, and the flaws and assets, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's perception. Is it an inconvenience? Is deception an inconvenience to your life?
Hmm.
Because right now I feel like there's a lot of deception going on. And do we take that personally? How do we react to a sense of deception in our lives? Whether it's a political, and we've got to be really careful. I definitely want to do disclaimers of like, this is just the way we see it. Doesn't mean you've got to live your life like this. Um, but how do we relate to these emotions? How do we relate to the sense of deception, for example? I've just picked that out of my head there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, does it have to be a bad thing? Is there an asset? Is there an attribute to deception? I don't actually know there is one actually for deception. Maybe I've chosen a bad example here. I don't know. Is there a positive to deception?
It sounds very loaded as a word, doesn't it? Deception. It sounds like you are fooling people for your own self interests.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find where that deception is good. Is there situations where people don't need to know everything, or is it always a good idea to make sure that everyone knows every single fact? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, look, I don't know about welcoming people into the mix, but if people have an opinion on that, I'm sure they're going to share it. I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
but deception. I mean, look, I am definitely well versed in it.
In deception.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Master manipulator, big
Yeah.
time. Past tense.
Yeah.
I want to be clear on that. Past tense. My former life. Um, you know, the art of deception, right? And comes with the territory of being a former Hellraiser, you know, with a
Hmm.
chemical romance. So can you use that to good? Um, in the work that I do, sometimes to get someone who's in a manic episode, you know,
Yeah.
like literally manic episode, they're fucked. They're in
Hmm.
delusion, whether it's through drug induced madness or just their own egoic sense of um, control because they're scared and they're hurt and they're very scared and they're hurt and they're angry
Hmm.
and they're afraid, right? And they're trying to control and manipulate their lives. This is a common trait I've had to work with a lot with these young mavericks, as I call them. Sometimes I need to use a bit of gentle coercion to point them to their true north.
Yeah.
So I think the problem is the word deception
Yeah.
because I'm using a different narrative. And when I say it in a different narrative, it sounds like, oh, that could actually help someone. And it does. I call it suicide prevention, or, I can help people get out of, not because I'm amazing, it's because I've got an ability to know what it's like to be in that situation,
Hmm.
and I'll help guide them out of it and get them, connected into a solution, some help, therapeutic help, some care and support. And to do that, sometimes you've got to be creative. But the word deception is not necessarily suggesting
But
that that's what it is, right?
yeah, and I also think like if you're doing that work, and as you said, if you've been there, that's why you can do that work is you and be successful at it. I think is because you understand exactly where they're at that point.
Mm.
And I also think that I wonder how much you would say you're a master deceptor, but because you can deceive yourself, because you convince yourself that what you've done is the right path, is the right thing, and that's where I think so often we're having conversations with young people where they've convinced themselves they're totally on their true north. That this is exactly where they need to be, and that's that incredible power of youth. That absolute blind faith that I'm doing the right thing, and you what do you know? You're just some old bloke with some what were you been through?
Yeah, you old fogey. Yeah. Oh my God. So look, we're giving a little bit of a flavour of what we're endeavouring to do here. So I just picked out deception. You've got the list, Ben.
Yeah, yeah, I have. It's huge. Like we could be running for a few decades, I think, with this list.
So I mean, look, you know, I don't know how we're going to actually, we had a chat about this, didn't we, Ben? And we
Mm,
weren't sure how to deliver it. Do we go through them one by one? But it's a lot.
yeah, yeah,
There's a lot there. So I don't know. Do you want to just punch
yeah. I
in
mean, I,
some
I
just
think,
to give an idea of what we've got in there?
yeah. I mean, there's at least for most of the major letters in the alphabet, we've got double figures for pretty much every single letter. Um, and some of them obviously will overlap. There will be, we've talked about deception, but you can also put denial in there, can you? And you can, you've got masquerade here. There's a lot of manipulation. There's lots of things that there will be overlap, um, and I think that will come through as we start. I mean, I think I think ideally, I would like to go with a sort of theme for each episode of one emotion, and then see what others come through as we do it.
Okay.
And I think we sort of put a limit on ourselves, and
Okay.
see, we roll out. I don't know. Let's try and do an alphabet. And
All
if
right.
we get to the end of the alphabet and it's working, and we've still got more to say, then
Okay.
and anyone wants to hear what we've got to say, then yeah, let's go from there.
Great. Because I'm just looking at this now, right? So what did I say? It was deception, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So looking through the list, deception. I can relate personally, like I have to say personally, I can. Deception to, let's have a look. Hang on a minute. Anguish, avoidance, afraid.
Evasive.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's so many that cross over because, you know, to give an example, usually when I'm fearful, underlying that, um, fear is maybe a catalyst. If I feel fearful, I might suddenly feel there's some anger rising up in me because I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then if I'm displaying anger, if I really explore that, why am I angry? Because underneath that, what's masking, the anger's masking, I'm afraid, I'm
Yeah.
fearful.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways of doing this. But what we're going to endeavor to do is just be two dudes that are going to chip away at what we were saying earlier, which is just try and do it in a playful way,
Hmm.
um, just to explore, what makes us human, basically.
Yeah,
Would you say?
yeah, and as I was saying earlier, in terms of how we came across each other, and then it's that honesty, it's the sort of transparency and bareness of actually where we both are at in our journeys and how we got
Mm,
here, and that, and both of those journeys have been um, traumatic. Is yeah, well, it's too hard a word. It is. It's there's trauma informed journeys, and it's our understanding of where we've been and where we've got to. And as you said earlier, really really eloquently, I just think anyone that thinks that journey has ended or they've done all the work is kidding themselves. And I think we've got to, yeah, we've got to be really really honest about where we're at this moment in time, and where we, where that
mm,
nirvana is, where we'd like to be. But it's constant. It's a constant
yeah,
challenge.
yeah, totally. Nirvana, is that on the list?
Is that an emotion? What do you think? Is that bliss? Have we got bliss on the list? I
I wrote this in the book that I wrote is I found my Nirvana in
Yeah. Okay.
Kurt Cobain. When he
I'm
came out on the scene, man, oh my God, I needed to hear that noise that he made was like, oh my God, he gets me.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
connection to that Nirvana, man.
Yeah, we haven't got bliss on it, and when we talked about this before, we were saying there was an episode of Blackadder where Robbie Coltrane is playing Samuel Pepys,
Yep.
right in the first dictionary,
Mm-hmm.
and he's finished the dictionary, and then someone says, "Have you thought?" Someone says a word, and he's like, "Oh God, I've left that one out," and I feel like that's kind of the journey that we're on at the moment. Is
I think it might have been
Yeah,
too much off, mate.
yeah, yeah.
So bliss needs to be added,
Yeah.
and
Have
definitely.
you actually totaled them all up? Do you know how many we've got on there?
I have no idea.
Okay,
It did me then just filling them out.
right. So we
Yeah.
were in the hundreds.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
we've already
Definitely.
added one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what I feel we should do, Ben, is I reckon we should wrap it up. Yeah, I feel like we've done a little intro as to what
mhm.
it is, the what and the why. Actually, to end on this, and then we'll kickstart it. The next episode we'll put out will be the first one. Are we going to go from A through to Z?
Yeah, I think we should go from A to Z. We should we'll aim to do 26. Let's aim to do 26, and
20
see what's happened at the end of that.
26 episodes. So we're going to try and smash through all the A's in one episode.
No, I think we should do a different letter each week.
Oh, okay,
So it should
great.
be like Sesame Street, and we should letter of the week is this, and
All
we'll do. I
right.
think we should start with aggression, because that's what we've talked about. That's what I was
Yeah.
when we first had the conversation. I said, I don't want us to be two toxic white males talking about masculinity and what
Yeah.
it is to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not going to name any names, but we all know who they are out there in the
Yeah.
world, and the less airtime we give them, the better. Um, but yeah, I think that idea of aggression
Yeah.
is where we're at the
Yeah.
moment, and
Yeah.
it just feels like, yeah, everyone is very. I mean, anger, whether it's the same thing or not, but I just think everyone is very angry at the moment and doesn't really know what to do with it. So I think if we start there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll see
Yeah.
what we get to.
Love it. And maybe I don't think we'll get away with it, but I'd love to use the strap line, bringing the yin to the yang. Maybe we can. I don't know. Maybe we should do t-shirts, Ben.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's
but
definitely, yeah, badges, at
when
least membership cards for the revolution.
so to end on this, the Velvet Revolution,
Hmm.
right, which you came up with,
Hmm.
What? Because I hadn't actually heard of the Velvet Revolution. Um, I was thinking Velvet Underground and
Hmm.
Velvet Revolver, which is Slash's other band that he had. But why the Velvet Revolution?
Um, so yeah, the Velvet Revolution seemed to just sort of uh, appear in our heads as we were batting ideas backwards and forwards. But it was a revolution in Czechoslovakia in 1989, where students and other revolutionaries came out onto the streets and actually managed to end the government at that point in Czechoslovakia, which had been there for I think it was over 40 years, um,
Mm,
and actually uh, turn the balance of power in a country in a non-violent way. Um, and I think we have to find some sort of power at the moment in what we're doing,
mm,
and I think there's enough people out there that are thinking or wanting change, but just are feeling powerless. So I think it's about having a revolution of mind of ourselves
mm,
and seeing that we aren't alone. You know, there's those posters. It's okay to not be okay, but what does that actually mean?
mm,
Because there's so many of us that aren't okay at the moment,
mm-hmm,
and and I think it's masculinity that is the problem, um, but also yeah, it needs to be revolutionized. It needs to be. We need to understand. There's lots of gentle men out there,
mm, yeah,
and that that it's okay.
yeah. I've got a theory, and it's controversial, but
Go
fuck it,
on.
I'm going to say it anyway. Right? I love what you just said. It's great, and it's a great name as well. The Velvet Revolution. It's soft, and
Yeah,
that's what that revolution was. It
yeah,
was a peaceful revolution of the hearts of the people.
yeah.
Yeah. So I believe this toxic testosterone, I talk from my own experience, and I'm not the only one. And there's some people who are causing some real damage in the world at the moment. And, I caused problems myself. So, I'm accountable to that. Back in my former life, for I softened my heart and my mindset opened. And, I let go of the control and the false sense of power because I was the opposite. I felt like I had no power. That comes from childhood. So I'm the first one to admit, that toxic testosterone plethora, is that the right way of saying it?
Hmm.
Plethora of grandiosity, the ego narcissist comes from a place of feeling absolutely afraid and insecure and a need to feel this power hungry
Yeah.
because without that full sense of ego, I am not enough. That's how it was for me. I'm talking for
Mm.
myself here, so
Yeah.
I know it well. So I feel like I'm not the only one that's doing that or done that. So I'm really, liberation of getting past the delusion of that and breaking through the spell of it and surrendering to, I need some help, please. Um, please. And having a hug, giving myself a fucking hug, and letting go of all of that mad shit. My life has become really peaceful. I had so much drama. I was always in conflict with everyone. I was in conflict with myself because I didn't like myself. And that's what I see going on all around the world. It's
Yeah.
mad. So let's let's uh let's inject all the good stuff into this and yeah, let's get real.
Yeah. Let's do
So, Mr. Rice,
it. Mr. Noble.
see you on the next one.
Yeah. See you then.